I feel like I have learned, or we have learned so much about the solopreneur world this year. Even after years of working with solopreneurs, I feel like this year was a big educational year because we had data. Like we've been working with people for so long now. I feel like we actually have information and history behind us. So I want to talk about some of our biggest lessons from 2025 as it relates to solopreneurship. I'm going to throw out a caveat. We could always talk about AI. Obviously, AI was a big thing from this year, from the past few years. But I kind of want to remove that from the conversation. If you listen to our episode last week, our soundbite episode with just Joe and I, we talk about AI quite a bit in it. Well, I want to take a step back from AI and focus on some other key learnings, if that is okay with you.
That's more than okay because, AI will take over the whole episode and everybody's
Exactly.
talking about AI. So let's talk about something else.
Yes. And in contrast to that, one of the biggest learnings is that for solopreneurs, human first always wins. Now more than ever with AI, with automation, with all the tech that we have, people are really responding to a human first approach. And I can just hear George B. Thomas, who contracts with us, just he's beaming right now because he's been preaching this for years. He practices what he preaches. But you need to go back to, I don't want to say old school tactics, but um just I guess common sense tactics of connecting with your audience and being a real person and a real human and solving their real problems and making things personal. Like enough with the mass e-blast. I mean, obviously you can send the mass e-blast, but make it seem personal. Like just get back to the root of that connection, share your emotion, be authentic, be transparent, just be you and it'll do wonders for your business. So human first. Joe, do you have anything you want to add?
Just something I think is really interesting because you look at what people are doing now with AI and particularly videos, and it's really impressive. It's really impressive the things that people are doing. But yes, I see these videos posted to social media, and the comments are all, "Oh, this is just AI crap." And I think it's partially because people are trying to pretend it's not AI, but it's generating a lot of animosity. And so it just leans into what you're saying that, being human first, being real, being authentic is so much. I mean, I think people are just responding even more to that now because they're going, oh, it's real, you know? And I really I just want to double down on what you're saying is that, people don't really like AI when it's trying to pretend to be human generated. It just makes people mad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to piggyback off of the being human, let's talk about building a personal brand.
Oh yeah. One of the things that, we do the website showdown a few times a year on the Solopreneur Success Sessions, and solopreneurs put their websites out, and me, you, and George kind of politely, rip them apart. and one of the things that really baffles me is that a lot of solopreneurs don't even mention their own name or barely mention their own name on their website. And I think they're trying to look like a big company, but they're not, obviously. And that goes back to kind of that authenticity. And, really when it comes down to it, if you go back and look at one of our favorites, Donald Miller's story brand, it's about the guide, right? The customer is a hero and there's a guide. And if that guide is a brand name, okay, I guess I can get excited about, Apple figuring out how my phone should be built. But it's like, if I'm hiring a consultant or a contractor or a coach, I want to know who that person is, what their credibility is, what they're all about. And that means building a personal brand. And, it's a big mistake to not kind of think through, an authentic presentation of a portion of yourself, right? You're not putting everything out there. If I'm, I might, enjoy collecting stamps, but it doesn't really have anything to do with being a solopreneur, and I actually don't.
You're like,
But
do you?
if I
Well,
no, But I play the guitar, but I don't lean into that a lot, in the lifestyle, um, presentations, lifestyle content. Every once in a while, it might come up, but it's not what I'm about in this context, right? And I think you need to take those pieces of you that relate to your business and find a way to present them consistently so that people understand who you are, can feel trust in you and what you're doing. It can just make a really big difference.
And we're not talking about the social media side of you where you have to present yourself as being perfect. Do not, nobody's perfect. We all know that. Show the good, the bad, and the ugly to an extent, obviously, as it relates to your business. But because like personal brand does not equate to a perfect brand. Don't hide parts of yourself that could help your business, even if it's not like your best moment, which I think is huge. But on that note, I mean, we were all warned, at least I was. I was in the generation where Facebook was just for college students when I was in college. It wasn't for anybody else. And I remember people saying back then, do not post anything you will regret 20 years from now. Well, it's 20 years from now. And that still holds. Like, don't even if you have you are your business. So whether you're at a party, whether you're out with friends, like you're still representing your brand. So really think through that, even if you're not talking about work specifically.
I mean, this doesn't really totally relate, but when at my last company, when we would hire people, we would be interviewing people. We had a guy that was really good at digging through social media, like surprisingly good, and he would find people's social media stuff. And we actually passed on some hires based on what we learned from their social media because we had a company culture that we really liked, and it was kind of wholesome and um, cooperative and kind of everybody trying to pull in the same direction and serve the customer. And when we saw something that didn't fit that, it was like, yeah, no,
And clients have
it's
that same ability to research
right,
on social media. So just know.
right.
Anyway, we could talk about that forever. But I'm going to pivot to the importance of systems and processes as a solopreneur. I know it can be so hard to put down the client work and focus on your own business. A lot of times it's do as I say, not as I do situation. But you have got to press pause on some client tasks and really focus on the systems and processes that will make yourself more efficient, whether that be outsourcing, AI automation, putting together standard operating procedures, whatever the case may be. Really focus on that because it will pay over and over again if you could just get your processes on a doc somewhere. I can't recommend that enough. It is so worth the time to invest in your own business to save time and dollars later on. So that's a big learning this year that I feel like we've really leaned into and that we've really told other solopreneurs.
I totally disagree. I don't think it belongs on this list because there was never a year where this wasn't a really good idea.
There.
I mean, this has always been something that people should do. It's the kind of thing I think that people always easy to do. And I learned the hard way years ago that if you put together a standard operating procedure or automate something you're doing manually, it pays dividends, like you said, mostly in terms of time, but then that time can be turned into money if you want to, or it might be turned into, something fun, whatever it is that you want. But, definitely take that time, invest, 4 hours a week, just a small portion of your week into just finding ways to work on the business instead of in the business. And you'll find at the end of the year, you're way better off than you were when you started that year.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, what's next on the list?
Community and collaboration. And, it's a little bit of a shameless plug topic because we have a solopreneur community at Lifestar. Collaboration, I love seeing people come together and work with each other. We're having solopreneurs, work together and, maybe they're hiring one another or maybe, helping each other for free or don't tell the tax people. I think the tax people might care about that, but, or doing something else where they're just, coming to other people's aids and helping each other. And it's huge. I mean, sometimes it's just, you know, this is it can get tough sometimes. And, somebody all of a sudden is having a tough time and just needs a few people to kind of say, hey, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Here's some ideas. And, we have people, as you well know, Carly, that, at times are in tears. And, because of the community, they're not in tears for long, and things get better because they've got people supporting them. And that's just huge. Don't forgo that as a solopreneur. Find it somewhere. Find it here with us or find it somewhere else, but find it.
Could not agree more. Well, I was trying to think of a good pivot into the next topic. I don't think I have a good pivot, so I'm just going to switch gears to diversifying income streams. Streams is huge. I mean, you have a lot of experience with this. Do you want to dive into it first?
Sure. I mean, as a solopreneur, it's a little bit of a, we're kind of talking through both sides of the mouth. We're like, focus, niche down, do one thing well. But once you've got something working and again, going back to what we said previously about kind of trying to do one thing and not that was the last podcast, talking about not taking on other customers, right? Taking on customers that don't fit. But once you have customers that you're serving well and efficiently, the idea of coming up with another product for them, or maybe a similar product but for a different group of people that you can deliver efficiently, can really protect you from changes in the environment. Something happens to one particular industry or another, or whatever. You just you can have these multiple income streams, and it's just like a hedge against something happening that would adversely impact you. Might adversely impact you at 50% of the level it would have if you were relying completely on that income stream. Diversifying revenue streams, can be multiple products, but there's another one that's probably even more important for a lot of solopreneurs, and that is having too few customers. And this is something I've lived through. At one point, I was in a company and we had a number of employees at this company. We had 3 customers. And if any one of them went away, it was doomsday. And that is a fine place to be when you're getting started, but no place to stay. So if you have, 1 or 2 customers, I mean, I remember there was a guy, and he might have been a solopreneur, but he had basically a hiring agency. He supplied customers, supplied employees, either temporary or permanent employees to businesses. But this one business nearby was really big and just basically became all of his business. And he didn't serve anybody else. And one day a company came along and won the contract. He was out of business, ended up living in his office, lost his house. It was just terrible. So this is the kind of thing, if you have 3 customers, get 6. If you want to have, I mean, obviously there's limits based on your business, but you want to get as many customers as you can in supporting your business, because otherwise, if you lose one, it can be very painful.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I didn't have a good transition before. Now I do. This is all to avoid unnecessary stress. And a key learning that I think we have from this year, big lessons, is just the importance of focusing on your mental health and your work-life balance. And I say work as part of that work-life balance. We've talked to solopreneurs who are like, I'm struggling to work because they're like, I have control of my own schedule. When do I prioritize going on a hike versus actually getting work done? You do still need to prioritize that work. But man, that mental health is so key, because if you are not a well-oiled machine, your business will not be a well-oiled machine. It will not run the way it should. So now that you're a solopreneur and you get to create your own schedule, really create that time to take a step back from your business, to get that exercise in, to read a book, to meditate if that's your thing. Whatever the case may be, make it a part of your business plan, because you are your business now, which you have said a few times in this episode. And so make sure you are good to go so that your business can thrive the way you want it to.
So I guess my take on this is, especially in early 2025, I heard not a lot, but a number of people on social media saying, there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's not really a thing. And I just want to say, yeah, it is. It is. It's something you need to think about. If you want to be a scale bro and work 80, 90 hours a week, don't give up employees. If you're trying to become a multimillionaire, don't give up employees. Don't be a solopreneur. If you want to be a solopreneur, you're doing it because you want something besides just money. And whatever that is, maybe you want to work 90 hours a week doing the work you want to do. Great. If that's what you want, beautiful. But for most people, it means something, work being good and something else being good as well. And you need to think about that. It's not going to happen by accident, I think is what you're trying to say, Carly.
Yep, you have to be intentional. Well, Joe, I think that's all we have for today. But solopreneurs, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you found these takeaways helpful. As always, please leave that 5-star review. Like, it just really means the world to us. It helps us get in front of more solopreneurs. In addition to that, subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Share this episode with a friend or a fellow solopreneur. And we'll see you next time on The Aspiring Solopreneur.